Be a freeloader. I get everything for free while you work 50 hours a week.
Could one Somali immigrant cost the Netherlands $1.10 million over a lifetime? Minnesota's seeing the same scams, welfare fraud, and now other immigrants are turning against them. Hodge twins exposed it, but is the full truth even worse? Stick around. You won't believe what happens next.
When these Somali refugees entered the United States during the Biden-Harris administration, they were not only provided an opportunity, they were provided financial stability. The Asian refugees, the Southeast Asian ones, who entered the United States back in the late
I stumbled upon a Twitter post featuring the Hodge twins, your go-to YouTube duo, spotlighting a Dutch study on immigrant fiscal impacts that immediately grabbed my attention. Shared from the Netherlands, it highlighted how newcomers from North America, think US and Canada, generate a whopping $573,000 lifetime net contribution each.
70s, early 80s were only given an opportunity. From there on, okay, we took that opportunity and multiplied it tenfold. We were grateful, we were humbled, we made sure that
while Scandinavians, Norway, Sweden, and those from Oceania, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and the UK similarly boost the economy through taxes exceeding benefits. In stark contrast, Somali immigrants drain $1.1 million per person. Caribbeans cost -600.
That is the reason why you should never put us in the same categories as these Somali refugees who entered the United States, or anybody at that who entered the United States of America feeling they are entitled to anything.
$175,000, and sub-Saharan Africans represent the heaviest fiscal load, underscoring how origin shapes long-term societal investment. Curious if this held water, I dug deeper and traced it to a credible report titled The Long-Term Fiscal Impact of Immigrants in the Netherlands, differentiated by motive.
Because that's not how things work. You were provided an opportunity. From that opportunity, you were supposed to do what you had to do. You worked those hard jobs, you saved up, and from there on.
Origin, Region, and Generation, authored by Dutch researcher Jan van de Beek, a specialist in immigration economics. Positive figures reflect high-skilled workers from Western or East Asian backgrounds who pay more in taxes than they claim in welfare, fueling development. Negative ones signal refugees or
you built a life here in America. You didn't ask for a handout because that is not something you do to burden the people who provided you the opportunity. No one should be burdened by your presence here in America.
Or family migrants struggling with labor market hurdles, drawing more in benefits, a pattern not unique to the Netherlands but worth scrutinizing elsewhere. The Hodge twins likely aim to stir American debate, yet the data screams Dutch context, not U.S. realities, prompting the key question: does this mirror Somali hubs like Minnesota or Ohio?
Is the declining birth rate of the United States. And in general, a lot of Western countries and empires have declining birth rate, and America is not an exception. There's actually some studies that just recently came out about just the alarming rate with which the U.S. birth rate is declining. So,
delving into Minnesota's Somali community revealed a nuanced picture, far from black and white, blending hurdles with hidden strengths that challenge simplistic narratives. Language barriers echo Dutch woes. Many arrive without fluent English or Dutch there, compounded by Somalia's fractured education.
In order to compensate for that, because the baby boomers are retiring, they're out of the workforce, you're going to need bodies to replace that. And if you're not having enough babies to replace the population that is dying off or retiring from the workforce, once again, everything leads back to money, taxes. You're going to need new fresh,
delaying workforce entry and demanding costly acclimation for themselves and kids through schools. This mirrors the Netherlands' integration struggles, where such gaps inflate public spending before any payoff emerges. Yet, positives shine through as Somali entrepreneurs reshape neighborhoods like Cedar Riverside and St. Cloud with homegrown malls, ventures in healthcare, manufacturing, and food processing, filling unglamorous jobs others shun. Ultimately, the evidence paints a mixed fiscal portrait for Minnesota's Somalis, echoing Dutch trends, but tempered by entrepreneurial grit that revitalizes local economies, even as adaptation costs linger and AI-sourced insights vary wildly, depending on the lens. A provocative video exploded across social media platforms, capturing a Somali man unapologetically celebrating his dependence on government handouts, a declaration that ignited a firestorm of condemnation and deepened rifts among immigrant communities everywhere. Phrases like "sit your ass down and recognize your limits" echoed through replies, raw expressions of frustration from those who see such bravado as a betrayal of the immigrant ethos built on sacrifice and stealthy ascent. This isn't just isolated bluster. It's a symptom of bolder posturing that contrasts sharply with the subdued strategies of fellow Horn of Africa migrants from Djibouti, Eritrea, and Ethiopia, groups who master the art of low-key integration, slipping into societies like shadows without demanding spotlights or stirring pots. These quieter neighbors embody a tactical restraint, prioritizing assimilation over announcement, their communities thriving under the radar by embracing menial tasks, mastering languages in silence, and building wealth through unheralded enterprises rather than viral boasts. Djiboutians, for instance, often channel their strategic port city heritage into logistics and trade niches in host nations, forging networks that hum efficiently without fanfare. Eritreans, forged in resilience from decades of conflict, bring a disciplined work ethic to construction, hospitality, and small-scale manufacturing, their remittances flowing homeward as proof of productivity rather than public grievances. Ethiopians, with their ancient cultural depth and entrepreneurial spirit, dominate coffee imports, taxi services, and tech startups in diaspora hubs, their success stories whispered in community gatherings rather than broadcast for applause or pity. This discretion acts as an invisible shield, insulating them from the sweeping generalizations of anti-immigrant rhetoric that paints all arrivals with the same brush of burden. When politicians rail against freeloaders draining resources, these groups evade the net, their contributions measured in taxes paid, businesses launched, and neighborhoods stabilized, remaining underappreciated but effective. Somalis, however, find themselves thrust into the glare, their high-visibility controversies acting like beacons that draw scrutiny not just to themselves, but to the entire constellation of African migrants, turning what could be collective camouflage into a glaring target. The backlash isn't confined to outsiders. It's fracturing from within, as descendants of other immigrant waves, those who clawed through Ellis Island-era hardships or post-colonial treks, now leverage social media to publicly sever ties. Caribbean elders reminisce about sugar plantation backbreaks and midnight shifts in factories, decrying Somali attitudes as a perversion of the grind they endured without complaint. South Asian professionals, who navigated H-1B visa mazes and corner store empires built on 18-hour days, post threads dissecting welfare stats to underline their over-contributions. Even within Africa, Nigerians tout their PhD pipelines and oil exec climbs, Ghanaians highlight cocoa trade empires and nursing booms, all positioning themselves as the model minority, antidote to Somali headlines. This internal distancing isn't mere opportunism, it's a survival calculus honed by history's harsh lessons, where one group's missteps invite policy crackdowns that ensnare everyone. Picture a chain reaction. A single viral clip prompts think tank reports, then congressional hearings, then visa tightenings, ripples that drown the diligent alongside the defiant. The Horn compatriots from quieter corners understand this intimately. Their ethos of heads down, hands up preserves alliances, allowing cross-community barbecues and mutual aid societies to flourish unchecked. Somali's louder footprint disrupts this equilibrium, compelling allies to broadcast disavowals like, "Not us, we're the ones paying forward," a painful realignment that erodes the pan-immigrant solidarity once forged in shared deportation fears. Delve deeper into the psychology, and you uncover layers of cultural variance shaping these paths. Djibouti's French-influenced bilingualism equips arrivals for swift employability in Europe and North America, bypassing language lags that hobble others. Eritrea's military discipline translates to punctual, reliable labor in blue-collar sectors, earning quiet nods from employers wary of drama. Ethiopia's Orthodox Christian networks provide instant social capital, church basements doubling as job referral hubs and credit circles, accelerating stability. Somalis, fragmented by clan rivalries and civil war trauma, grapple with rebuilding trust structures abroad, where clan loyalties sometimes prioritize internal aid over outward hustle, amplifying perceptions of insularity. Economically, the divergence stings with data-backed clarity. Studies from host nations reveal Eritrean and Ethiopian net fiscal positives within a generation, their higher education uptake and entrepreneurship rates outpacing natives in key metrics. Djiboutians punch above weight in maritime trades, their remittances rivaling GDP slices back home. Somalis lag, per reports from Minnesota to Malmo, with welfare dependency clusters tied to lower literacy rates. Somalia's pre-war education collapse left scars, and youth unemployment fueled by cultural clashes over gender roles in job training. Yet, this isn't deterministic doom. Outliers abound. Somali Uber fleets in Seattle, halal markets revitalizing Detroit, proving potential when levers align. Broader anti-immigrant tempests exacerbate the lumping, from Trump's border walls to Europe's populist surges, where invasion rhetoric ignores nuances. Polls show public fatigue peaks when anecdotes like the freeloader video go viral, conflating 10% troublemakers with 90% taxpayers. Quiet horn groups dodge this by cultural camouflage, adopting local dress sooner, intermarrying strategically, volunteering conspicuously. Their invisibility is agency, a masterclass in asymmetric integration where perception trumps reality. The fallout's intensity manifests in digital battlegrounds. Twitter threads devolve into ethnicity wars. TikTok's tally contributions versus costs. Reddit subs dissect crime stats by origin. Other immigrants, sensing the tide, amplify disavowals. A Jamaican nurse in Toronto tweets, "We fled hurricanes for hustles, not handouts. Don't lump us." An Indian engineer in Atlanta blogs fiscal models proving his cohort surplus. This pushback reveals solidarity's fragility, built on mutual myths of uniform striving now shattered by visible variances. Such fractures echo historical precedents. The Irish famine migrants shunned by earlier Germans, Italians vilified by assimilated Jews, cycles where upwardly mobile waves police the borders of acceptability. Today, Somali visibility accelerates this, their freeloader archetype weaponized by nativists, forcing defensive postures that harden intergroup lines. Quiet contributors plead for nuance. Judge individuals, not origins, but optics override, as algorithms amplify outrage over quiet competence. Preservation instincts drive allies to draw these lines boldly. South Asians cite 70% plus workforce participation rates. Latinos boast construction booms and farm lifelines. Even other Africans flaunt remittance records topping $50 billion continent-wide. Against this, Somali metrics, higher incarceration in some U.S. cities, welfare caps in Sweden, become Exhibit A, inviting denunciations that safeguard reps amid scrutiny's glare. Visibility's ripple effect is pernicious, transforming one community's stumbles into collective indictments. A Dutch study's Somali deficit flashes globally, morphing into proof for U.S. skeptics despite contextual gaps. Hodge twins posts, stripped of nuance, fuel misreads where Caribbean costs become American gospel, eroding trust earned by decades of toil. Urging accountability becomes the quiet chorus as low-profile horn peers model restraint, contribute silently, claim successes privately, deflect blame collectively. Their shield holds because they never test it with spotlights. Somali's bolder canvas invites scrutiny that spares no one, a cautionary canvas where one bold stroke smears the whole mural. In community halls from Minneapolis to Malmo, whispers turn to debates, how to reclaim narrative without defensiveness. Successful Somalis, doctors bridging hospitals, entrepreneurs flipping blight to bustle, plead for uplift, but trolls drown them out. The dynamic underscores immigration's Darwinian edge, adapt invisibly or invite extinction via exclusion. Broader lessons emerge for all migrants. Visibility is double-edged, amplifying triumphs but magnifying trips. Quiet assimilation preserves alliances. Bravado invites isolation. Horn contrasts illuminate paths. Djibouti discretion, Eritrean endurance, Ethiopian enterprise, blueprints for sustainability. As tensions simmer, the freeloader video lingers as inflection point, catalyst for realignments where self-preservation trumps solidarity. Allies draw lines not from malice but math. One sinking ship drags fleets. Fractures heal slowly, demanding Somali course corrections toward the shadows where neighbors thrive undetected. This saga humanizes data's cold edges, revealing how personal pride clashes with communal calculus, spotlighting why discretion endures as immigrant gold. In a world quick to lump, the art of blending quietly emerges as profound strategy, shielding fruits of labor from tempests of perception. What starts as one man's boast cascades into communal reckonings, urging reflection on visibility's true cost. She's mounting a vigorous defense, spotlighting her relentless toil and unwavering commitment to dismantle the damaging freeloader caricature that's been slung her way, yet the true narrative gains traction precisely in the revelations that trail her words, those unfiltered retorts that inadvertently expose underlying fissures straining under the weight of public judgment. This sudden shift from embracing welfare as a badge of honor to championing personal hustle isn't mere rhetoric. It mirrors the Somali diaspora's precarious balancing act, teetering on a high wire strung between entrenched stereotypes of dependency and the gritty tales of survival that define their journey in foreign lands. Observers lean in, anticipation building for the climactic reveal, where lofty speeches collide head-on with the unvarnished truths of immigrant existence, laying bare the tensions that simmer beneath polished arguments. Consider the layers of this pushback. Her emphasis on grind evokes images of dawn-to-dusk shifts in meatpacking plants, nursing homes, or delivery vans, roles Somalis have quietly claimed in cities like Minneapolis and Columbus, often in sub-zero winters that test resolve far beyond tropical origins. Yet, this personal testimony clashes with broader perceptions fueled by viral missteps like the freeloader video, which amplify a minority's bravado into communal indictment. It's a classic immigrant paradox. Individual triumphs get overshadowed by collective optics, where one boastful outlier erases 1,000 silent successes, from halal grocers revitalizing blighted strips to cabbies funding siblings' college dreams back home. Deeper still, this pivot underscores cultural tightropes unique to Somalis. Clan loyalties, forged in civil war's chaos, sometimes prioritize internal support networks over rapid assimilation, creating insularity that outsiders misread as entitlement. Language hurdles, Arabic scripts clashing with Latin alphabets, oral traditions bumping against bureaucratic forms, delay entry into higher-wage arenas, trapping generations in low-skill cycles that demand public aid as a bridge. Her defense humanizes this. "We grind," she insists, echoing stories of mothers juggling 3 jobs while kids navigate ESL classrooms, their accents fading just as opportunities sharpen. But rhetoric's rubber meets reality's road in the punchline she tees up, where defenses crack under scrutiny. Promising hard work rings hollow against stats from Minnesota's welfare rolls or Ohio's fraud probes, where systemic barriers meet behavioral choices in a blame-sharing dance. Stereotypes harden not from fabrications but fragments. Youth gangs in Cedar Riverside, remittance economies siphoning wages abroad, painting a community as extractive rather than invested. Her words invite the counterpunch. If grind defines you, why do Dutch ledgers log $1.1 million deficits per lifetime, or U.S. audits flag disproportionate claims? This tension electrifies immigrant debates, pitting narrative against numbers. Allies from Eritrea or Ethiopia watch warily, their quieter paths, military-honed discipline, orthodox networks yielding swift stability, serving as unspoken rebukes. South Asians and Latinos, with their corner store dynasties and farm-to-table lifelines, nod in shared frustration, knowing visibility invites audits. The Somali tightrope sways perilously, lean too hard into welfare pride, and doors slam. Tout hustle alone, and data-driven skeptics demand proof beyond anecdotes. Ears perk not for validation but vindication's test. Will her story sway the unconvinced, or expose the chasm between aspiration and aggregate impact? In these debates, raw defenses often boomerang, revealing how survival narratives falter when stereotypes, substantiated by subsets, demand communal reform. It's a masterclass in diaspora dynamics, Personal grit inspires, but group patterns dictate destinies, urging a collective pivot from reaction to reinvention before rhetoric fully unravels. She's firing back at critics, warning that the Somali community risks squandering a golden chance America handed them, one their predecessors seized through sheer grit under far tougher circumstances. By shying away from the grueling jobs others embraced, they're painting themselves as a drag on the system, forcing hardworking immigrants from harsher eras to share the blame in the public eye. No group should land on foreign soil only to burden it, she insists, echoing the Dutch study's stark math where each Somali migrant racks up a $1.1 million lifetime deficit, pure net drain that mirrors this very critique. This sentiment bridges oceans, from American frustration to Netherlands' data-driven verdict, yet Somalis often counter with tales of barriers like language walls and disrupted schooling that stall their ascent. The exchange lays bare a universal immigrant tension, opportunity versus obligation, where one side demands hustle and the other pleads context, refusing to let fiscal ledgers erase human hurdles. Such back and forth sharpens the debate, revealing how shared struggles can fracture into finger-pointing when numbers hit home. America's merit-based engine pulls in talent from afar, rewarding raw hustle with scholarships and upward mobility, even for those arriving unpolished but driven, turning newcomers into market movers who embody the system's promise. Yet her core insight cuts deeper. With U.S. birth rates plummeting alongside Western trends, baby boomers exiting the workforce create a void that demands fresh hands to sustain taxes and growth, making immigration not just welcome but essential. States like Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, and California bleed residents to Florida and Texas, eroding tax bases and hiking property levies, so importing bodies to educate, employ, and eventually citizenship becomes the pragmatic fix, until spotlights expose flaws. The Hodge twins' lie, post on Dutch data tricked eyes into assuming U.S. parallels, inflating fears of Caribbean, minus $675,000, Middle East, minus $625,000, or Latin American, minus $271,000, drains that actually reflect Netherlands' ledger, not America's. Somali visibility, fueled by trolls boasting freeloading, scams, crimes, and welfare fraud in Minnesota, Columbus, Ohio, and beyond, now poisons the well for all immigrants, drawing denunciations from South Asians, other Africans, Hispanics, and even intra-African lines like Nigerians versus Ghanaians. Hardworking Somalis, nurses, doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, get unfairly tarred as communities splinter under scrutiny, mirroring how UK, Scandinavia, Canada, or Dubai patterns lead to blacklists when bad apples dominate headlines. Successes stay personal, but failures ripple outward, eroding solidarity as groups disavow to shield their reps, much like Caribbeans or Africans rejecting Black American labels, proving no one hitches to a sinking ship. OCD Jackson wraps his celebrity junk episode urging accountability, lest proven problems across borders seal doors forever. It's on communities to own their narrative before fact-checkers connect the dots globally.